Okay, so on my end, those past 2 weeks has been worked on the recurrent transfer plus proposal system updates. I did a fair bunch of work to get the update proposal to get an end date. That's almost done. I had a review from Abit and Bartek, which is fairly simple stuff that should be done this week. And meanwhile, I've been working on the cutoff proposal updates, which allows you to set a cutoff amount. So let's say like 100 HBD, and if you reach that amount, the proposal gets deleted. So we've been working mostly on that. I wanted to start working on the automated actions, but I think Steve Jabino will work on that instead. So I think I'll let him do that.
Well, we don't know for sure if he's going to work on it or not yet, right? We're still waiting.
Yeah, from what I've heard, he's setting up his environment, and he's most likely going to be working on it.
Okay, good.
I mean, worst case, this will just get delayed by like 2 weeks, and best case, he'll be working on it. So might as well not duplicate the work.
Okay.
So yeah, that's about it on my end. Yeah, up to you, Chris.
Okay. I guess we've been working on a couple different things. We're still doing all the normal stuff, creating tests for Hive mining, things like that. In addition, I guess a lot of our focus right now is on the modular Hive mind development. And on that front, we've got a couple things going. We're still doing work on the Hive D plugin that takes data from Hive D and sticks it into the Hive mind database. And we had some good runs on that over the weekend. We've been testing some of that code. And speed has been pretty good so far. I mean, right now we don't have it building up all the indexes. We have it inject the data, and then we build the indexes afterwards on the data that's been injected to the system. But I think we had I'm trying to remember what the time was. I want to say it took 8 hours or was it 11? Maybe it's 11. Maybe Gandalf, do you remember what the time was by any chance for the reindex of the Hive D into Hive mind?
No, I don't remember. It was quicker than API with account history node. So,
yeah,
so definitely less than 15.
I think it was near to 11 hours.
11. Okay, yeah, that sounds right. That's what I think that's pretty impressive in terms of time. So beating account history time for injection of all that data is quite good, considering HiveMind and its total sync time takes 4 days or more now. So it's at least looking promising so far. So the second part of that is, in fact, of course, to change HiveMind so that it uses that data instead of the data that it was normally getting through API pull calls. And so we also got that task is ongoing. And then another thing we're looking at is now that we have, basically we're essentially copying the operational history data into the HiveMind database. So a couple impacts of that is A, we're going to have a lot more data in HiveMind, and B, we should be able to serve account history API calls directly from HiveMind. So we've got some work going underway to implement those API calls, and then just see what kind of performance we get out of that. We'll see if it's how viable that's going to be. But I think it's very promising, anyways. In mind, without actual data, I still think it looks like it's going to work pretty well. Let's see. Other than that, I'm trying to think if there's anything else going on. Bartek, we didn't get a chance to talk before the meeting. Do you have any other things to add other than reviews and normal stuff that we've done?
Actually, now we are focused on implementation different data sources for HiveMind and using active account history APIs based on this new database. You have mentioned it just ago. Also, there are performed tasks related to fixes in follow implementation, which contain bug fixes reported earlier, like also some synchronization problems. Generally, I hope they will cover all cases reported in issues. I hope that today we will have much request for that, but some tests failed on these changes and work is still continued, but I'm sure it will be done this week. Another part is related. We also started full sync, another full sync of HiveMind. It contains and verifies changes done last week. For example, concurrent execution of after the initial sync phases, taking sometimes quite long of time. So I hope it will speed up this phase significantly. Also, some bugs in Reblock implementation has been fixed and also are under testing in this full sync. From other things, like Dan mentioned, we are still working on creating new tests. Also, waits for my verification and some remarks version of our try to use Open API framework for definition of APIs and improve some documentation system. What's more? Probably
That sounds like funny.
sufficient.
It sounds like funny. Oh, one other thing, just to add to the list, we still have pending the task to get the test APIs for HiveMind into HiveMind.
Yes, of course. And actually, the one issue waiting for that is just the follow implementation, because this brings in again another set of tests. And after finishing it, I will move all tests from from submodule to regular HiveMind repo. So I remember on it. So.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so that's about it for what we're currently working on past week.
Okay, cool.
I have one question regarding HiveMind. So currently we have a lot of different revision because we still cannot check HiveMind version. I know you have developed and implemented, and it has been merged, but the only thing we can see about HiveMind now is revision, and I see a lot of different API nodes running different version of HiveMind. It would be nice because there was a master, a merge from develop into master, and then people are running different versions. I know I'm running a more recent version than yours, Portrait or Gandalf. So what I would like is to have clear milestones where you merge develop into masters, and so all API node operators know which version to deploy, and that this version is safe to
I'm
deploy.
A little confused. I'm a little confused. You're saying you're running a more recent version than we are on our nodes?
Yes, in production, yes. At least
Why?
my revision is looks when I call get info from HiveMind, I get a more recent revision than you.
But why are you running a more recent version, I guess is my question.
Oh, because there was a merge of one fix into, and I made a checkout of this revision when it was out. It was just one day after yours.
Oh, okay. And so there was some new feature you wanted to get, or some fix, or?
I can't remember because it's
okay.
the beginning of
I mean, no, I don't know that milestones make sense for this, because I mean, we merged something to master. It's basically a recommendation to upgrade, I think, is the way we're looking at it. But I mean, it's not necessarily a milestone, right? It may be just a bug fix. That's not a milestone. It's not an objective that we had ahead of time. it's a fix we needed to make, and we want everybody to upgrade to it. So I can't say this is the milestone where we just fixed the bug that you guys reported yesterday.
But currently, we have a lot of different versions running. And my concern is about how
Consistency, I
will
assume.
react to all these different versions. Because if they switch from one node to another, when the node
Just
is
deploy
down,
master and
Yeah, I think that's the simple solution. Master is normally the one to deploy. That's the way. That's the reason why we moved to. Basically, that's why we announced it, I guess, what, meeting or two ago, that basically that's the whole plan now, is that master should be where people are going from, unless they have specific need for a fix that are sure they want to get. But generally, master, everybody should be deploying master, and that's what everybody should be using. I'm going to make one exception, and I'm going to say that's us. We may, in fact, test a little ahead of master sometimes, because we're going to test something to see if it's working performantly before we advise everyone else to upgrade. But we're going to do that in a scenario where it's not, it's not going to be long. It's going to be, we might test it for a day just to be sure the performance is okay before we announce it to everybody else to move up to it. But generally, that's the plan, is master is what everybody should be working off of. And I don't know why there should be, my guess is, I doubt many people are running off develop at this point, at least new developers. My guess is maybe some people just haven't upgraded to the master version from whatever version of develop they had. That's my guess. I'd be very surprised if most people are running from develop ahead of master, at least on purpose. If so, I mean, this I don't know if this is really a development issue, but it's more of a DevOps issue. I guess we probably need to just have a discussion API node operators to see what everybody's running and why they're running what they're running.
That's why I'm eager to get current develop merge into master to get the more information into get info API call.
Okay, well, that's
so we can compare things.
I guess we're waiting probably. I don't think we're waiting for much. My guess is we'd like to get this follow fix in, because that's kind of an important one. Yeah. This is affecting, we call it follow, but it affects decentralized blacklists and follows, mutes, all that stuff. So I think we're talking about getting that in the next few days, and I think it's safe to assume we're going to have another merge to master after that. So it should be relatively soon.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else wanted to question or have a question or talk about any work they've been working on? If not, maybe Hao can pick it up again.
Yeah. Also, I forgot, I've been working a bit on an issue that the guys from TreeSpeak have been having regarding the account permission stuff. Still haven't dug to the end of it, but apparently they are having an issue where they can, if an account has no keys, it only authorizes one account. They cannot set a new owner authority, which is something that's quite strange, and I'm still working on that.
Okay.
Webhound has been very useful and gave me a JS script that reproduces the issue. I have yet to run it against a testnet to run some additional tests.
Okay. Do we have an open issue on this?
Yeah, there is an issue on this with discussion and everything.
Okay, good. I saw you guys talking about it in the dev channel. I just didn't know, get lab issue. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's something that I'm afraid that it's.
I can find it. That's fine. That's no problem.
Yeah, it may require I wonder if changing the authorization procedure to fix that, assuming it's a bug, if it's a bug that wouldn't require a hard fork, right? Because it doesn't affect the blockchain, the database itself. So that's the issue.
Well, I mean, it's if you allow something that wasn't allowed before, like it was rejected before, then that's going to be a hard fork change.
Yeah, true. Okay. Anyways, so for this one, I put very few things myself, and I wanted the community to react, which thankfully put a lot of issues to bring up. So I only added as a talking point the downvoting proposals, which got rejected in multiple ways. Basically, it's the idea of how we could improve the way proposals are voted, where right now it's like 0 to 100%. I suggested the ability to downvote proposals, and Guilty Party suggested the ability to put basically a vote slider, which is very similar to regular votes, basically. I know that account, I'm like, just why not? I don't really see since you guys did the implementation, was it just because it was like, let's do the bare bone version and then we'll add more stuff, or was there an actual reason why you did 0 to 100%?
I think we just took the bit shares implementation, which was 0 or 100%. We didn't vary the algorithm too much from what was there. I mean, there were some minor changes, but we didn't look at that particular issue of percentage. I don't know in terms of how it's implemented, how much difficulty there'd be to changing it to a percentage vote instead of a total upvote. I don't know. Bartek, would you have any idea? I don't know if we'd have to talk to somebody who actually coded it to know. I'm not sure.
Sorry.
Yeah, let me explain the issue, and then you can. So the request right now, when you vote, you basically, it's 100% vote of your stake when you vote on a proposal. Basically, they're asking if it's possible to vote with the lesser amount of your stake on a proposal. And the only reason this would make any sense, just to explain why that even makes any sense, because normally you'd think you just want to vote as much as you can. The only time you generally want to vote with the lesser percentage would be when you're voting for the return proposal. Because then you might want to raise it up a little to block one proposal from being funded. But if you vote it with your full stake and you are a large stakeholder, this is basically a big stakeholder problem. Then you could potentially block a lot of other proposals that you don't want to block just in order to block the one you want to block.
Well, I think adding such weights to votes, maybe it will be not so complicated for that. So,
okay. Well, I guess we can look at it.
We always can try and next do analyze exact code changes and see what happens there. So.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, I don't know if we store, I mean, I guess the biggest addition, I mean, so we'd have to store, I don't know if we'd have to store this additional weight of what was voted, or at least we'd at least have to take a new parameter, I suppose. But I don't know if the way it's accumulated, if it actually accumulates the vote one time, or if it's more like we'd have to keep both pieces of information, and every time we do the calculation, we'd have to do the calculation with the vote plus whatever the weight was, or something like that. I don't know. Because the way it works now, if you increase your stake, your vote changes as a result. So if your stake goes up or down, your voting power changes too. So if you increased your amount of vested Hive, all your votes would gain strength. They're not set at the time you vote. They're constantly computed. And so it strikes me that you would need to at least maintain the weight of your vote as well all the time. So it is additional memory state that we would have to keep track of.
I wonder how that's done in witness votes, because that's
well, witness votes are also the same way, right? We use the witness voting algorithm, which is full strength. You can't partially vote for witness.
Yeah, I was just thinking in the way of how like witness votes had to be updated if you power up new Hive.
Oh, it's the same way. I mean, basically what happens is we just know that you voted for things, and then at the time when there's an interval at which it computes the votes, and what it does is just it says, okay, the current way this account's voting, what's its current strength, and it adds that vote up. So we'd have to basically maintain this percentage as well to do this.
On the subject, Guilty Party is writing, it may be an opportunity to also address how proxy is used in relation to the DHF. Right now, proxy is used for governance, and this separates it into two types of governance. I'm not sure what you mean by separates it, because it's like basically added for every governance votes.
Who's the separate? Who are you talking about that says separate it?
Well, how proxy is like separating into two types of governance, but I'm not sure how it separates it, because
who said it was a separate set? I'm confused. Who are you talking
Guilty
about?
Parties in the Zoom chat.
Oh, guilty parties. Well, it would. I mean, he's right. It would make it different because witness voting is not a percentage vote. So if you had percentages vote for these other ones, it would make, there's a change involved here. I mean, it strikes me that there's it's a little more complex than it might seem to make it percentage vote.
Yeah, I see. And then you have to take into account proxies and everything. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I guess it would make sense to like make a post and ask the community how they feel about it in the improvement community.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, the question is this a big enough problem that it's worth the headache involved in the code? I don't know that asking the community in general makes a heck of a lot of sense, because frankly, I don't think it impacts much of the community. It primarily it impacts big stakeholders like me, and they call me Dan.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, I guess we should aim for solving problems that touch the global majority. Okay.
Anyway, sorry. As I just look at that code, it seems that we are risking only by extending some proposal vote object by so wide used next during calculation. So in my opinion, this is not big deal to add it if this feature is really important. So because the votes are recalculated during blockchain processing, so
yeah, that's
some calculation related to weight is not big deal. Probably it is more memory impact code.
That's right. It's memory impact. It's going to be the significant impact, if any.
But this is just one.
But somebody's pointed out that it also impacts that, because we use the same mechanism for voting for witnesses, where it really doesn't make much sense to allow a percentage vote. There's also some strangeness associated with that, because you can basically proxy your vote to either, when you proxy your vote, it applies to both witness voting and to regular voting. So I mean, if we allow, we can leave proxy voting as it is and basically it's 100% proxy vote. And then all we need to do is say that, okay, witness votes are still 100%, but these other ones allow a percentage. I mean, it's doable. Anyways, okay. Yeah, I guess the consensus here is it's doable. It's going to take extra memory, and I guess there's still open discussion. Is it big enough use case that it's really a concern, or is this the concern of about 8 people on the blockchain?
Yeah,
probably it's only 8 people, but they are high stakeholders, so
so they matter like 200 people. Okay, moving on. Still guilty parties. He laid out a lot of points. So. The idea of how we could do light accounts, if we have any plans on doing that, pretty much, and how they could work. A light account is basically a wallet who would have like close to no RC and would just be able to transfer and not participate in governance, posting, voting, witnesses, DHF, etc. And would like subsequently cost much less because they have way less impact on the actual blockchain.
Okay, so let me summarize what little I know of the subject, because I'm not heavily involved in this. But the essential idea is that some centralized agency has an account on the blockchain, and they create centralized accounts on their own internal system that allow those centralized accounts to interact with the one account that they control on the blockchain. Is that the standard way of doing this?
Well, it wouldn't be a centralized point of doing. I think it's mostly.
Well, I mean, the current light. Are we talking about current light accounts? Or are we talking about light accounts as a new? I guess you're talking about light accounts as a new blockchain feature.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. As a new type of account.
Okay, I just wanted to distinguish, because people, when they normally refer to light accounts, refer to the other thing. But you're.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Okay, so you're talking about a new kind of thing, which is a light blockchain account.
Yeah.
And the idea of lightness, okay, as you then specified, it would be an account that doesn't participate in governance.
I think it's pretty much a wallet, like an account that only has access to the transfer operations. I guess.
So is that? I mean, and is that? Oh, so Guilty proposed this. I don't know if he wants to. Is that maybe he can just agree or disagree if that's what he was talking about in the chat channel, maybe. But in the meantime, we could talk about what you're saying. So you're okay. So you're saying you're saying it could just be a wallet for sending coins around and nothing else?
Well, one of the issues with Hive is that it's hard to get in because some people just want to have a wallet to like a cold wallet pretty much, and having a cold wallet involves jumping through a bunch of hoops when you just want to have a cold wallet and you may not want to participate in all
Okay,
of
so we're
the,
talking about a
stuff.
place to receive money. Is that would just be the main idea? Is just the way you could get an account to receive and send Hive, and that's it?
I think it would, yeah.
Okay,
much.
so and the reason when you talk about the hoops, you're talking about, okay, I can only think of a couple of hoops for getting a Hive account. One, you have to pay for it, and one, you have to keep track of your keys. Is there some other hoops?
Well, I don't think keeping track of your keys is a hoop, but more like either paying for it or having to like give up your social accounts or whatever to figure out some stuff.
Okay, so we're talking about paying for it.
Yeah, well,
okay, so paying for it is the current cost of a Hive account is what, 3 Hive?
yeah, I mean, I definitely get your point, which is like very small, but it's still like a hurdle when some people want to have use cases where you just create a wallet and you give it to someone, where most of the other chains, it's literally just generating keys and that's free, and you can receive on that account, right?
Right. So in this system, instead of you have to pay 3 Hive to give somebody an account instead of giving the one for free. That's the difference. So the idea would be to basically make a minimal version of account that you could create that basically it's keys and you can send money to it and send money from it, but it's not allowed to do anything else.
Yeah, it's literally your wallet.
That's the savings of the 3 Hive that you're saving to make a payment to somebody. I'm just laying it out. That's all. But we got some comments from Guilty. So let's see what Guilty has to say, just in case.
And in many blockchains, the account cost of the creation account on Hive is less than cost of just transferring the money. So
that's true. That's a solid point.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
Just in case that wasn't clear, he's saying the transfer fees, a normal transfer fee is often higher than it would cost to create the account in Hive. So I think that's a very solid argument against this, to be honest. But let's see what Guilty said. He said it's an account with only part of its keys generated, and it would likely include a numbered account rather than a logically named. Okay, so it is pretty much what we're talking about, I think. Logically named cheap accounts. So the idea here is to make cheap accounts, but the reason is to avoid the cost of creating a Hive account, which is 3 Hive, and the cost of transfers and other blocked. So I think the argument, from my point of view, based on what Gandalf said, is this is a perceived barrier that doesn't exist in the fact that it's a one-time fee to pay 3 Hive to do it, whereas on most blockchains you got to pay continual costs just to make transfers to and from it, which frequently are higher than that. So is this really a barrier that's of significance? I'm going to go with right now, it doesn't seem to be, unless, I'm just missing something. I could see the argument if a Hive account was much more expensive.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. All of it. So then we have delegation pools, which I'm assuming is RC delegations pools, which are still work in progress. I mean, it's part of the stuff where I'm like, I'll be doing it, but maybe Steve will be doing it. So
it's okay. 2 people is usually better. You can review each other some.
Yeah, it's like wait and see, and also I'm still blocked on some issues related to the new chain-based issues. I would really be thankful if you guys could do everything related to chain-based and how to create stuff. I mean, blockchain classes and stuff, because I feel like I'm just missing like one piece of code every time, and it's blocking me every time.
Okay, well, I mean, if you could make a list of everything you run into, we can like document all the things that at least that cause you problems, so that we can make some kind of document out of that. Obviously, yeah, cool. I can ask the guys to try to come up with something, but I don't know that they'll know what to talk about specifically.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I'll go around all of my open pull requests, and I'll see each and every problem to add. Download inflation adjustment, pretty much reduce the inflation. That's something that needs to. I mean, my problem with reducing the inflation is that it has to have a good, I mean, a significance behind it, as in is there an actual justification behind it apart from just reducing the inflation? And yeah, it's a big decision.
I mean, it's a very general statement, downward inflation adjustment reduction. I mean, we know inflation is already being reduced every year. So the question then becomes, if you want to make a specific proposal on how to do it, I think that's probably more appropriate for a post first than a dev meeting, because we can obviously code this stuff up. This is more of a political issue than a technical issue, I think.
That's a good point. And also, which part of the allocation would you reduce, aka the?
Yeah, it's entirely a political issue.
I mean, one could argue that now the decentralized Hive fund we could remove the inflation there because we have the old ninja mine and then add it later.
Sure, and again, that's a political issue.
Yeah, exactly. That's again absolutely.
It's nothing to do with technical features.
Anyways, to adjourn for later. Blah blah blah. Okay. Oh yeah, and also on the account token transfers, we discussed it. I think in the dev meeting 3, we decided that it would basically make it an actual currency, and people would actually start to claim accounts.
Yeah.
To
so
sell them.
we did discuss this, and yeah, I'm generally not in favor of it. I don't think it makes much sense. I think the whole account token system was a hack created by Steemit to avoid their initial promises to create accounts, onboard accounts by paying for them with Steam that they had. So I think they came up with the system as a way to basically allow them to create accounts for free, and then just hand them out to avoid. I mean, I'm honestly, no one ever told me that, but I thought it was quite obvious that was the reason these things were created to begin with.
Yeah, I can't confirm or deny, but
okay.
That's an interesting take. I mean, hearing it makes sense, to be honest.
Honestly, it wasn't obvious. Seriously, okay. I mean, they had all that vested Steam. They couldn't do anything with it, but they found a way to not spend it.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair.
So yeah, I've never been keen on this mechanism from the start, and I certainly don't think it makes sense to make it some new way that large stakeholders can make money.
Yeah, pretty much. And also it would screw up the only people who actually care about the feature, because the RC cost for claiming an account would grow up because everyone would try to claim it. And so actual dapps who want to claim to actually create accounts for free, etc., would end up.
Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, I mean, if we decide that if witnesses, I say we, but if witnesses decide they want to lower the price of creating accounts, they have a really simple mechanism. We can lower the cost, and it doesn't require new code.
Yeah, exactly. Next, we have a long piece of text from Zero Wolf, which can be summed up in 2 things. One, I think Hive, the token, doesn't have enough reasons to be held / staked. And the question is, can we fix RC so that they better showcase the activity Hive already has, and or would it be enough to change the witness parameters for RC? So basically increase the RC cost so that people have.
Okay, so I'm going to throw this out as this is another political discussion. I mean, if there's a technical aspect of it, we can talk about it, but it doesn't sound like there's any particular technical aspect to it. I mean, it's well known, I suppose, that we can change the RC value of any operation. So we can certainly modify operations. If we want to look at the only thing technical I could assume is if we try to come up with something new in the way of operations, or new in the way that's really it. So yeah, I thought of a new operation. I don't think this actually inspired me to think about it at all, but it's maybe slightly applicable. If we wanted to increase the cost of RCs of a lot of operations, yet keep some cheap so that people could still participate in the chain, we could, for instance, have a comment that's not votable. So this would basically allow people to comment on posts, but they wouldn't be able to get votes on them, so they couldn't. There's no incentive to do it from a financial incentive to make the comments. You just do them because you want to say something. And we could also, in that case, we wouldn't, I suppose there may be some technical advantages to us because we don't have to worry about keeping track of those for voting purposes in memory. So there is a way we could possibly lower the cost for people to interact in the chain somewhat, but at the same time, raise the cost for doing things that make money and things like that. But again, whether you want to do that or not starts to get into more of a political issue, but at least technically, that's one thing I could think of related to this. Other than that, I don't see anything particularly technical in here. If I missed something, feel free to add it though. If there's a technical issue, I haven't.
No, that's, yeah, I guess that's about it. And then we have a few questions by Iconj, which is kind of related to what one of you guys is doing in relation to expiring, pretty much, I mean, any governance votes that can expire. Basically, it's the idea of adding an expiration parameter to delegate vesting shares so that you can set a delegation and then let it expire. Like, let's say I want to delegate like 100.
Yeah, we can certainly do this. I mean, you're right. It's a generalized concept. We could have all governance votes, proxies, et cetera, be expirable. The argument, so that there's obviously a pro argument there. The con argument I can think of is that we would then have to maintain that additional information in memory about when it's going to happen. So there is some cost to the chain in adding this, and it can be done without imposing costs on the chain because, of course, somebody could run their own bot to do exactly this. So there's a trade-off involved in that. One is, it's the fire and forget. You don't have to think about it, but then the chain has to think about it for you. So I'm not totally keen on this idea because I don't see it makes sense to impose extra costs on the chain for something someone can manage on their own usually. So I guess that's my take on it. I think Gandalf wanted to make a comment. So
anyway, there is a required prerequisite for that are automated actions that should be used for anything automated like this. Yes.
That's a solid point. So if we did want to do this, it should at least probably wait until after we get the automated action stuff going, which I guess that would be something you and Steve would likely be looking at. So I'd say let's postpone this discussion until we get that working, and then we can ponder whether we can see if people think it's worth the cost.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
But when will we see automated actions? Is it planned?
Yeah, there's still discussions going on, but there's some work looking at implementing SMTs, and if we implement SMTs, then recurring actions are part of the SMT code.
Because this request, if we use automated action, you have to do two things. First, make a delegation, and then create an automated action to remove the delegation.
No, it doesn't work like that. Delegation automated actions are just a way to handle actions that happen in the blockchain. Okay, it's a way for the blockchain to handle actions that would happen anyways, but in a way so that it doesn't overload one block, so that it's spread across multiple blocks. So let's say like 100,000 delegation have to expire block 1. Instead of just like crushing this block, it would spread like 10 delegations every block. So it's like less weight on the chain or at a particular time.
Okay.
Okay, what else we got? Is that it?
Pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else had anything to talk about?
Okay. Let me see. Yeah, we don't have any other comment on YouTube. Okay, great.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Yep. See you in 2 weeks.
See you 2 weeks. Have a good day all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.